All right, today we are jumping into a really big topic in education. How do we shake up our language classrooms so they're less about just memorizing rules and more about, actually talking to people? It's a huge shift, and we're going to break down exactly how it's happening. So let's kick things off with a question that pretty much all of us have felt at some point. You spend years in language class, right? You can conjugate verbs in your sleep, you get an A on every single test, but then you find yourself standing in a little cafe somewhere and you freeze. Ordering a simple coffee suddenly feels like climbing Mount Everest. Why? Why does that happen?
Well, that frustrating feeling, it actually has a name. We're calling it the fluency gap. It's that canyon between the stuff we know in our heads, all that academic knowledge, and what we can actually do when we're out in the real world.
For a really long time, the whole idea was, look, if you just learn enough grammar rules and you memorize enough vocabulary lists, fluency will just kind of happen. But as a ton of research, and let's be honest, our own experiences have shown that's just not how it works. A rule-based approach is great for building a foundation, but it often fails to build the bridge over that fluency gap to confident real-world speaking. So if we want to close that gap, the very first thing we have to do is completely rethink the finish line. The goal is not about reaching some kind of impossible native speaker perfection. No, it's about something way more practical and, frankly, a lot more useful. And this new goal, it's built around this really powerful concept, English as a lingua franca. Think about it. In our world today, most conversations happening in English do not involve a native speaker. It's a business person from Germany talking to an engineer from Japan. It's a tourist from Brazil asking for directions in Thailand. The point isn't to sound like you're from Chicago. The point is to be understood by someone from anywhere. This quote just nails it. The new focus is all about effective communication without the need for linguistic perfection. Let that sink in. It's not about being perfect. It's about getting your idea across, understanding the other person, and just making things happen in a real situation. Okay, so if we have a new destination, communication, then we're going to need a brand new map to get there, right? In the world of education, that map, that whole architectural plan for learning has a name. It's called didactic planning. Now, don't let that term scare you. Didactic planning sounds super academic, but all it really means is the teacher's game plan. It's how they strategically design everything, the lessons, the fun activities, even the tests, to make sure they all lead students toward that one big goal. And this is really the heart of the problem. If your blueprint, your plan, is designed to build a perfect wall of grammar rules, you can't be surprised when your students can't use it as a bridge to communicate. The blueprint itself has to change. It's time for a total redesign. So what does this new design look like? Well, the modern approach is called task-based language teaching, and its core idea is pretty revolutionary. It's all about shifting the focus away from abstract exercises and onto meaningful tasks. Okay, this slide right here is the big aha moment. Check this out. On the left, you've got the old way, a grammar exercise. The only goal is to fill in the blank correctly. It's just about the language itself. But on the right, you have a pedagogical task. Here, the focus is on achieving a real-world goal, like, say, planning a weekend trip with a partner. You have to use whatever language you've got to get it done. Success isn't about perfect grammar. Success is, did the trip get planned? The outcome is real. And just so you know, this isn't some brand new fad. This approach, task-based language teaching, is a super solid, well-researched methodology. It's backed by decades of work from top linguists and educators, and it's all laid out in foundational books just like this one. So what really makes a task and not just another exercise? It really boils down to these 4 key things. 1, the focus is on meaning. 2, it's got to have a clear connection to the real world. 3, the main priority is just getting the task done. And 4, and this is huge, you're assessed on the outcome. Did you achieve the goal? Not on how many little mistakes you made along the way. So what does a classroom that's built on this new blueprint actually look like? What does it feel like to be in one? Well, the impacts for both students and teachers is pretty amazing. A task-based classroom basically supercharges all the things we already know are vital for real learning. Students learn to communicate by actually communicating. They use real-world materials, think menus, maps, websites, not just canned textbook dialogues. They get to connect what they're doing in class to their actual lives, and their own experiences and ideas become a huge part of the learning process. When you boil it all down, the whole thing comes down to this one crucial shift. We're moving away from a system that tests what a student knows the theories and the rules, to a system that values what a student knows how to do, the actual practical skill of ordering that coffee. It's the difference between knowing about swimming and actually being able to swim.
Which really brings us to a final and maybe kind of obvious thought. If our whole goal is to get students to actually use a language, then shouldn't they be spending most of their class time, well, using it? It just makes sense, right? Thanks for tuning in.